kitchen. Now with Valentine's Day just around the corner, I thought I would use this theme for this week's video tutorial. So I'm going to be showing you how I made this really pretty pink striped cake with these heart meringues. Okay? Let's get started. Okay, so to make the hearts that are going to go on top of my cakes, I'm going to make some meringues. I've got 60 grams of egg whites, which I've just used 2 eggs at room temperature, and I've got 120 grams of caster sugar. Now I'm going to start by adding my egg whites into my stand mixer just with my whisk attachment. I'm going to whisk these up on a slow speed until the egg whites start to foam up. I can then switch the mixer onto a higher speed until those egg whites start to firm up and we get nice peaks. Once they're at this stage, I'm going to slowly start adding my caster sugar, just a teaspoon at a time, just allowing the sugar to dissolve. Once all of that sugar has been added, I'm then going to turn the speed up and just whisk these until we get nice firm peaks on the top of our meringue mixture. Now, if you just rub some of that mixture between your fingers, you shouldn't be able to feel any sugar granules. Now, I do have a full video where I show you how to make my meringues in a lot more detail, so I will put a link in the description below to this video if you want to check that out. I'm then going to take my mixture and separate it into 3 separate bowls so that I can colour these in 3 different shades of pink. To colour these, I am using the Colour Splash Raspberry. So I'm going to have some lighter pink ones, just going up a few shades to some darker pink ones. So the first piping tip that I'm going to use is just this one that has a circle end. Now this one measures around 1 centimetre across, and I'm going to pop this into my piping bag with one of my colours of meringue. Okay, so I've got my baking tray and I've popped a piece of greaseproof paper on the top and just added some of that leftover meringue underneath the corners just to stick that down. To create my heart, I'm going to apply some pressure until I get a ball. Now I want the ball of meringue to be around 1 inch in diameter. I can then stop applying pressure to the bag but pull away at an angle into a point at the bottom. I then want to do the exact same thing next to it and just join those 2 pieces up at the bottom. Now with this one I want it quite smooth, so I'm going to take a cocktail stick, smooth out that meringue in the centre, and that's going to give us our first heart shape. So I'm going to make a few of those. Now I want these to all be slightly different sizes to each other. Now I'm going to go in with a paintbrush and just neaten off some of those bottom parts just so we get a nice point. For the second piping tip, I've just got the Wilton 6B. Now this one has an opening about the same size as the circle one that we used, but this one just has cut out teeth running all the way around. Now with the next piping tip, I'm going to do exactly the same, but this is going to give me a nice textured heart. Now with these ones, I'm not going to go in with a cocktail stick just so that they'll keep that nice texture on the top. For the final piping tip, this one is slightly smaller, so it's just under 1 centimetre in diameter, and this one is the 195K. Now it has teeth going all the way around, but it's just slightly curved round. So I've just got the lighter colour for the final ones. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. These ones are just going to be slightly smaller. So here we have the 3 different styles of hearts. Now I'm going to pop these in my preheated oven, which is at 100 degrees Celsius for 45 minutes. Now after 45 minutes, I'm going to turn the oven off, but leave these inside until they've completely cooled. Now, once the meringue hearts have completely cooled, we can just take them off of our parchment paper and we're left with these hearts that we can add onto the cake. So to create my cake, first of all, just baked a vanilla sponge cake. Now this one just measures 6 inches across, and I baked 2 cakes which I cut into layers of around 1 inch. I will put a link in the description below to the vanilla sponge cake recipe I used. I've also created a batch of light pink buttercream and also a slightly smaller batch which I just coloured in a darker pink, which I'm going to use to create some stripes on the side of my cake. Now the first thing I'm going to do is use the lighter pink buttercream just to fill and crumb coat the outside of my cake. When stacking my cake, I am actually just popping this on a 6-inch drum board at the bottom, and this one just measures 1 centimetre in height. Now the only reason for doing this is just to give me slightly more height on my cake. Now all the crumb coat is just a really thin layer of buttercream that just locks in any loose crumbs so that they don't get into the final layer of buttercream. I'm just running around the edge with my metal scraper, just smoothing down those sides. So once you're happy with your initial crumb coat, I'm just going to pop this in the fridge for around 10 or 15 minutes just for that buttercream to firm up so that we can add another layer before we add our stripes. But once the cake has come out of the fridge and that buttercream has firmed up, I'm going to add another layer of my light pink buttercream. Now in order to create my stripes, I'm going to be using a contour comb, and this one is just by Evil Cake Genius, and this one just has little sections cut out just over 1 centimeter in length. Now I want to make sure that the layer of buttercream that I'm adding is slightly wider than the section that we're going to cut out. I'm then going to go in with my scraper, just holding it against the side and scraping off any of that excess. On the top, just with my offset spatula, and just pull that back. Now I'm going to pop this in the fridge for a few minutes just for that buttercream to slightly firm up before I add the colours into the spaces. Once that's come out of the fridge, I popped my darker pink buttercream in a piping bag and just snipped off the edge. Now I'm going to run around my cake and just fill up those gaps. Now I've got my smoothing comb that I used for the first side, and I'm going to use the straight edge on the other side. Now I'm going to hold this up against my cake and just start smoothing off. In order to get this nice and smooth, I've actually got a tray of boiling hot water, submerged straight area. Now you can only do this if you're using a metal scraper. It's not going to work if you've got a plastic one. Once that's warmed up, I'm going to take a paper towel and just clean off any excess water and buttercream. I can then use this to run around my cake, and what this is going to do is just melt the surface of that buttercream so that it's nice and smooth. Now I'm just repeating the process of warming my scraper up as I go around. I can then go in with my offset spatula, just pulling into the center to sharpen off those edges. Now I'm not too worried about the color on the top, as I will be adding a chocolate drip. So for the board that the cake is going to sit on, I've just got a 9-inch drum board and also some pink fondant. Now I've just colored this in the same color as the darker shade of pink buttercream. So I'm going to roll this out until it's large enough to cover my board. Pop a small amount of water onto my board just to allow that fondant to stick, trimming off any excess and smoothing it down. To finish off the board, I've got a nice pink ribbon that just matches the colour on the top, which I'm securing with some double-sided tape. And then popping a small amount of buttercream just on my board and transferring my cake over. The next thing to do is add my chocolate drip before we add on our meringue hearts. For my drip, I've just created some dark chocolate ganache. Now I've used 200 grams of dark chocolate and just melted this together with 150 ml of double cream or heavy cream. I'm then going to go in with my offset spatula, just pushing that to the edge, just allowing it to drip over the side. I'm then going to go in with my piping bag and just work my way down, adding in more little drips. Now, before the drip completely dries, I'm going to take some of the Pixie Pearls, and these ones are the Love You More by Sweet Stamp. Now, I'm going to pop some of those into a bowl. Using my fingers, pick some of those up and just dot those onto that ganache. So I've got all my little hearts, and I'm going to start adding these to the top. Now I'm going to start with some of the larger ones, and just to hold these up, I'm going to push a cocktail stick into the top of my cake. Now once that ganache has dried, you can just take these cocktail sticks out, as the ganache will harden around the hearts. Now for this one on the side, I'm just going to push it into that ganache and just add in some of those smaller ones onto the side. So here we have the finished Valentine's themed cake with our buttercream stripes, our dark chocolate drip and our heart meringues on the top. I really hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial and will enjoy making your own version of this cake. If you have enjoyed the video, as always, don't forget to give it a like just so I know. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, then don't forget you can subscribe to the Cakes by Len's YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button, as this will just alert you every time we upload a new video. So until next time, bye!